Good afternoon, traders. Welcome to day 2 of Shark Week 2021. Right off the bat, let's do a quick test of audio and visual. So if you can hear my voice and see this opening slide, that shark there, please type a yes in the chat box for me. Michael, David, Heinz, thank you so much for coming in. Jim, welcome in. As always, if you look at the bottom of your screen, there is a button that says Q&A. If you use that to ask any questions you have, that'll make it much easier for Ferenc to answer them by the end of the presentation. As always, my name is Keith, here with Shark Indicators. We've been involved in the NinjaTrader ecosystem since 2011, providing tools like Bloodhound and Blackbird that help traders be more productive and in control of their own trade systems. We're always looking for ways to add to the trader's toolkit, and this webinar and Shark Week itself is a big part of that mission. Before I pass it off, let's take a quick look at the risk disclosure. Futures, foreign currency, and options trading contain substantial risk and is not for every investor. And of course, past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Ferenc has been trading the financial markets and designing strategies since 2008. He has developed a unique hands-on expertise in technically motivated directional trading, a consistent approach also embodied in his software products and services. Ferenc has been a visiting lecturer at Central European University for the past 5 years, where he teaches the financial trading course in the Master of Finance program. Originally from Hungary, he's been a proud Canadian for 4 decades and lives in Toronto. So with all that, Ferenc, now you are welcome to unmute your microphone and share your screen so we can get started.
Thank you, Keith. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for Shark Indicators for the invitation. And thank you for all of you who are attending today's lecture. I hope to be able to provide some value to your trading business today. And let me start by trying to share my screen here. And I'd like to ask Keith if you can see my screen now. Just the first page of a presentation here.
I can, yep, and you're loud and clear.
Okay, and my sound is obviously coming through. Beautiful. So welcome everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, I think for the 5th or 6th time to be invited for Shark Week, the greatest trading event for retail traders anyway, in the Ninja community. And my presentation today will use I hope Erne Rubik, the inventor of the magic cube, Rubik's cube, will not mind this, but I thought when I was thinking about today's lecture, how I could the easiest way to visualize or to present in a visual manner what I'm trying to share with you today. And I was thinking of the Rubik's cube. Of course, as a Hungarian, as a kid, we used to grow up with this. That was the big hype then when I was a kid. So, and I'm pretty sure this is something everybody knows around the world. So today's lecture will be about how to build a successful trading business. And I think the secret is in putting the puzzle together the proper way. I'd like to mention that our company, Remek, has been in business for 10 years. We are based in Toronto, and basically what I do as in the academic field as my job at the university, and also what I have learned over the years by trading the markets, they are today embodied in our products. So at the end of the presentation, I'll be happy to share with you some more information about what I'm going to talk about today. Some of it is actually embodied into our products. That's what we try to do. Okay, so let's get going, and let me share with you the agenda quickly. These are the 4 or 5 topics that I'd like to touch upon today. First, the big question is trading a business or an entertainment? It can be both, and there's nothing wrong with either. I'd like to emphasize that. But sometimes it's not so easy to know which one we're doing. So I hope to be able to help you a little bit about how to think about this as we go about doing what we do. I always stress that we do need a plan, and then we're talking about how to solve the puzzle, and hopefully we'll take away some lessons here that it took me years and years to realize, and I hope you can also learn from me something here. Last but not least, as always, every year we'll appreciate your attendance and your interest by offering you some good discounts on our products and services. All right, let's jump in right away and talk about trading as a business. Now, of course, if I ask you and if you ask me, of course, everybody would answer, of course, it's trading. I trade as a business. I look at my trading as a business. In practice, however, at least in my practice over the years when I talk to customers or potential customers, I often felt that although the person might feel that, yeah, sure, it's a business, but actually, in actual fact, that not much is done to prove that. So I'd like to share with you some insights, the way I see it anyway, how we can easier to decide which category we might fall into. And we human beings are, because of our cognitive biases and many other factors, and that includes me, obviously, we are very good at fooling ourselves in many areas of our lives. And then this running a business, building a business is certainly not an exception. So to cut to the chase, there's nothing wrong with trading for entertainment. If you have the money and if that's your inclination, by all means, who is to tell you not to do that? But that's not what we're going to focus here. What we're focusing here today is building a trading business. And the business means that we're doing something for profit. And this is a big issue. I just want to share with you 4 kind of questions or check boxes here that you can ask yourself. Certainly, I had to ask myself during my learning curve as I was developing my business as a trader. What are the answers to these questions? So let's say, and I call this today the litmus test of trading. So, do I have a written plan? Unfortunately and sadly, somewhat sadly, many traders I talk to do not have a written plan. I've never seen a flower shop or a dentist or a car shop or anything without a written plan. I never saw an incorporated company without a written plan. I think it makes sense to write down what we want to do. And just to make sure, since this is a numbers game, and then we'll get to that, since there's lots of numbers involved, it's very important, I think, to have it written down. Whether it's 2 pages or 22 pages, that's up to you. There's no strict rules. If you can put it on 1 page on a napkin, by all means. Hey Jude was written on a napkin, so you can do anything. It's not what the size doesn't matter. That what you want to do, it's documented. That's what matters. Now, why is this important? Because if what we want to do is build a business, then we have to structure it like a business. If we want to structure it like a business, then it needs to be documented what I will allow myself to do and what not. It's so simple. Also, a written plan is very useful, I think inevitable, and very necessary if we want to measure our performance. If something's not written down, where am I going to turn to see if I've done my job well? Remember, let me just go back to the previous page about our cognitive biases and us being, actually this page up here, that we're very good at fooling ourselves, not because we're not smart, just because as human beings, we have to deal with our cognitive biases all the time, 24 hours a day. All right, so getting back to the issue, we also need a written plan because that's the only way we can spot when we step out of line and we can take corrective action. So enough said about that. By the way, if you have any comments, feel free to type in. I may not stop right away, but before the end of the presentation, we will certainly address all the questions. So please feel free to comment as I go along. But just to carry on the line of thought here, the next big one for me anyway, and you will tell me if you agree with that, is that the question, do I worry about my next trade, the outcome of my next trade? So it has to be, I have to be completely okay with the outcome of the next trade. If I'm freaked out or if I'm worried, then there is something wrong in the plan, which needs to be fixed. Very big point in my view anyway. And again, often I talk to people that are not really in a position to put a check mark here at this time. Oh, Randy, hey, listen, Randy's asking if I have ever solved the Rubik's Cube. Yes, I have to tell you that in 1981, I was in New York in the summer and I spent a week trying to solve the Rubik's Cube. I couldn't, so I went down to the corner and I bought a little book for $2 with the solution, went back home, and I did it in one afternoon. But since then, I forgot how to do it. But my daughter, many years later, did it without a book. And I have a video recording of her doing, she was about 16 at the time, and she did it in like 5 minutes. So young people are very good at that. I think I might be too old to try to learn it again, because as we know, there are millions of possibilities, I think. All right, so moving on to, thanks, Randy, for the great question. So moving on to the next point. Do I know how many losing trades I need to expect in advance as I trade? And am I comfortable with that number? Many people don't even ask that question, or they don't know the answer to that question. I'm happy to report you we have a calculator on our website, which is aimed at helping you figure this out. It's not so easy, but actually it's not that difficult. Everything is simple math, basically, in trading. We don't need to calculate how to get to the moon. This is math 101, basically, and statistics 101. There's nothing really rocket science here. But within that space, we do need to crunch some numbers and be able to answer some questions. So number 3 was the third big question for me. And well, the last one is just knowing how many % of my account do I risk at any one time, and not on any one trade, because we might have 2 or 3 trades on at the same time. So this must be the cumulative risk of all the trades that I have on at any one time. So how many % am I risking at any one time of my account? Now, this is strictly and closely related to the third point, how many losing trades. Imagine that if I know that, statistically speaking, I have to be ready to deal with the situation. Let's say I trade for a full year or 2, 3, 4, 5 years. This is a long-term thing. This is a career. Sooner or later, the day will come when I will have 7 losers. Although I followed my rules, I executed my plan perfectly, 6, 7, 8. I mean, the number will differ, of course, based on the exact edge, and we'll get to that later. But there's a number here. That number will happen. Now, let's say if your risk is $1,000, well, 7 times $1,000, that's $7,000 in a row. How many %, what kind of drawdown is expected and documented in your written plan? So all these things need to be well documented, need to have been calculated, strictly speaking, before you even put the first quarter real money on the market, the first dollar in the market. This needs to be done. This work needs to be done before we start to trade live money. All right, so this is how I see it. And just a word of warning, if you are not in a position today to tick these off, there's nothing, or check these off. There may be others, you can think of others possibly. I'm not saying this is a complete list. These were the big ones for me. If you are not in a position to put a check mark here, nothing wrong, but just go back and do the work, and you will thank yourself later for that. All right, let's move on and let's see why a plan is needed here. As we realize that this is a puzzle, we have to think about what will go into the plan. So it could be a trading plan, or you can keep thinking just to visualize it as a Rubik's Cube. We know that there's many moving parts here. Again, the job is up to you to bring them all onto one page, all these ingredients, like a cook, all these ingredients that will go into the magic equation, into your business plan. And I tried to do my best to bring the ones over here which were important for me. There could be some others. in your plan. But I would say these 7 that I listed here should be in everybody's plan. Right. So we are still dealing with a little chaos here. So how are we going to put this all together? The way we're going to put this all together, but before we go into that, I just put down some first thoughts. So this was a little brainstorming. I wrote this down here, and I just wrote down the first thing that comes to my mind. You can also play this game. I'm not saying that this would be the same for everybody, but this is a good exercise that these are the headlines. Write down the first thing that needs to be done or that comes to your mind. Well, these were the ones for me, and I hope that you will find these useful. And Edge, if you know the old TV series, The Streets of San Francisco from the 70s, there was a much-loved American actor called Carl Malden, who was American Express's man in the commercials. And there was an American Express commercial in those days. Before I lose my voice, give me 1 second. So anyway, in that commercial, he always said, "Don't leave home without it." And I was like 10 years old or something. So I'll never forget those commercials. Pardon me that I need to get some water here because I'm losing my voice. Give me 1 sec. Okay, my apologies. All right, the next one is the math. Like any business, could be a gas station, a flower shop, anything you can think of. It's a numbers game, and trading is not an exception. Knowledge, I think that's probably the easiest one for us. However strange it might sound, the actual technical knowledge that we as traders need to know and need to be on top of is relatively easy to acquire. If you think of a pilot or a surgeon or a lawyer or many other professions, a home builder, there's so much knowledge required to do the job. In trading, if you and I sit down, we could talk the whole thing over on a weekend. And so the technical knowledge itself is not impossible to acquire, and certainly not the most difficult task. The next one is capital, in no particular order. Capital, of course, is the big one. That's the BYOC, bring your own capital. And how much capital you need, well, that's everybody's own decision. And as a ballpark figure, I would venture to say that about whatever your stop is, 50 times that much. And I know some people might agree or not. That's up to you or up to them. As long as we do the math and you do the math for yourself and you're comfortable with that number, then you're good. For me, that was about 50 times. So skills as opposed to knowledge, skills is probably the most difficult thing here. Skills is what takes a long time to develop. Think a tennis player, piano player, anything that requires years and years and years to develop. We really need to change the way we think. We have to learn to think in probabilities, which human beings are not built to do. And we don't have those skills. Changing the way we act in certain situations, especially under pressure, and to counter our impulsive urges, which are within us, have been with us for a million years, is a great, great challenge. And to reprogram ourselves and our actions and our responses to certain situations requires a lot of practice and takes a lot of time. So I think that's the big one. Well, you, of course, strictly or closely related. We as human beings are also a great risk, and basically because of our cognitive biases. But we'll go to that. We'll go to that later in more detail. And time, that often we forget that this will not happen overnight, and whether we do have the time or we want to devote the time to this, to develop this business and to bring it to fruition, that's of course something that we each must ask ourselves. Okay, so let's move on to Right. Right. Okay. Now this is on this slide. What I was thinking here, I'd like to ask you guys. Yeah, Michael Douglas. Exactly, Brian. Yes. Yes. Great series. I loved it. All right. So on this page, I'd like to ask for your participation. I'd like to ask you, what is the greatest challenge? So we have identified 7. I'm not saying this is the ultimate list. There could be another one that I forgot about, but by and large, this is a good start. So, but what is the greatest challenge here? And I'd like to play just a 30-second video here of a young gentleman here from Australia, Felix, who is the world champion currently, I think, with 4 minutes, 73 seconds. This guy is going to solve the cube. Quite amazing. While you're watching this and together with me, we continue to be amazed. I'd like to ask you, what you think is the greatest challenge here? If you can answer the question, I'll be most happy to send you a coupon code for a 50% discount in our shop, Remek products only, but 50% discount in our shop. So here we go. This is a video on YouTube. So here's the guy. We can watch it in slow motion. And this was the World Championship. So every participant starts with a random starting position. So he didn't know what he was given. So in the meantime, Tony says, right, what's the biggest challenge? But what's the biggest challenge? I understand you, Tony. So congratulations, Felix. You are the world champion. Beautiful. Oh, sorry. I need to get out of this. Okay. And back to presentation mode. Yes, so many answers are coming in, and I'm most happy to give everybody, if I have to, the 50% coupon code. But what I'm trying to ask you, maybe the question was phrased wrong, is don't pick one of the 7. Don't pick one of the 7. My question is, what's the biggest challenge to put them all together? To put them all together. That's what my question is. And think of the cube. So don't pick one. Each one is important. We know that, or at least we seem to agree that for most of us probably. What's the challenge of putting it together? Okay, let me show you the next slide. Can I? Here's the next slide. Everybody knows Charlie Chaplin from the classic Modern Times, 1936, one of the greatest movies of all time. And we're looking at a situation here from the movie where there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of levers. And yes, more answers are coming in. In the meantime, I'm actually giving away the answer here in one way. So don't worry, there's discounts coming in everybody's way at the end of the presentation, so we're not missing anything. And Timothy, that's a great point. Timothy says that it's almost impossible to sift through all the info out there without a mentor. That's very true. That's very true in many areas of life. Just think of a surgeon or a guitar player or any area of life you want to excel in. You can't do this alone. It's not possible. Everybody has a teacher or a professional environment, a university or mentors that for guidance, a tennis champion. So that's very, very true. For me, let me share with you the way I see it, and probably the answer I was expecting, but I'm not saying that all the answers that you've given were just spot on. For me, when I started to do my business plan, what I realized is that changing one changes all the others. Changing one changes everything else. That's why I put this picture here, that just like the Rubik's Cube, you start turning the cube, you're not turning one little cube here. You're not just turning one part, you're turning everything, all the others mostly. You're turning many others, maybe not all, but many others, often all the others. So alignment is key, I think, here, the idea, and that takes a lot of thinking, a lot of weekends in the park, thinking about how to do this, pen and paper, to really figure this out. If I have an edge, okay. If my edge is changing or is not working anymore, it's going to change the other 6. If I am my family situation, my job, my free time, I have a new baby, I have a new house, whatever changes, everything else changes. If my capital changes, obviously everything. If my time, if I decide that I'm too young for this, I'm too old for this, I'm not in my life, that's not the right time to do this kind of thing, that changes everything else. If I don't have the knowledge, or if there's new knowledge and I'm not on top of it, that will change everything else. If I change the math, that will change all the others. So this is an interrelated game of at least 7 components, possibly more, most likely more, but these 7 big ones. And I think for me, and I hope you agree, but what I want you to do here is not to necessarily agree with me, but to inspire you to do your own thinking, to work on this and to give it a little time, slow down, stop putting on life trades and whatever you have to do, and just to step back and think this over, because this is an interrelated, very complicated web that needs to be figured out. And that's why I chose the Rubik's Cube as a visual prompt, basically, to try to convey that message. All right, let's move on. I have lots of comments and comments coming in, and I'm so happy to read quickly some of them. If you forgive me, I'd like to move on just to keep on schedule, and then we'll have about 10-15 minutes at the end to discuss any points and go through some of your comments. Okay, so the next one. What I want to do here is just these 7 quickly, without aiming for completeness. Of course, that's not possible. That would take a couple of hours to go through all this, at least, if not days, but just to give you a couple of pointers. I'd like to mention that this presentation, this is Google Slides, actually, and it will be published after this webinar in our blog. I'll give you the address later, and all these links will be clickable. So there will be links as you can see them, and by clicking on these links in the Google Slides file, you'll be able to end up on pages where you will find more information about this. So I did it this way so you can dig deeper if you want at your own pace after our meeting today. So I'm just scratching the surface here. The edge is the first one. This is the mathematical formula, nothing to be scared about. The probability of win multiplied by the average win plus the probability of loss multiplied by the average loss must be bigger than 0 over a large number of trades. Otherwise, we will not be making money. We could be, all the other 6 could be perfectly aligned, perfectly aligned. If this is missing, we'll be losing money. That's just how it works. The edge is something I think each of us must definitely start with, or one of the it's hard to say which one to start with, but this is a cornerstone of the trading business anyway. And definitely something that we need to make sure that we have it. Now, where does the edge come from? Let me say a few words about that. The edge, in my view, in my humble opinion, the edge must come from something real. What do I mean by that? If we look at charts going back, let's say 6 months, I look at a 5-minute chart, anything, timber, lumber, gold, copper, wood, whatever, it doesn't matter what. So any kind of chart. Believe me, you and I, we can identify situations probably caused by our cognitive biases, which seem to have an edge. When that little line does this, and when that other line does this, and when that orange little thing, that's when I should go long. And then look at that, it happened 10 times, and let's start trading. Unfortunately, these are most likely without further examination. These are most likely coincidences. And one of the major reasons why people are unsuccessful in building the trading business. These are most likely coincidences. If we data mine, if we mine enough, if we spend enough time data mining, we'll mine anything. You and I, we could mine anything, and we can explain to another guy, look at this, how great, and it's proven by the data. The problem is that I didn't ask the data, I formulated the question to the data. So I put the carriage before the horse. We have to go the other way. We have to find an edge that is based in human psychology, that is based in actual crowd behavior. And that's a little more difficult, but the rewards are astounding, because once you have it, once you understand, you have something which is real. Human psychology hasn't really changed for, I'm not an expert, but let's say 400,000 years, maybe 500,000 years, who knows? But definitely we have records, believe it or not, from Phoenician times, Mesopotamia. We have pullbacks. 17th century Japan, the candlestick charts. I can't remember the gentleman's name. I should be ashamed, but you know, the Japanese trader who the rice trader who traded candlestick charts successfully. And so basically we have price records from old days. We have price records from Britain, from the East India Company times, from the tulip mania from Holland, hundreds of years ago, not to mention from 1890, we have the Dow Jones and many data, a lot of data from modern Western capitalistic markets, including the US. And the pullback is something that's there. Why? Because that's just one example. Of course, there are others, because it's based in human psychology. And to prove it, let's step out of the financial markets and let's just look at the real estate market. If you look at long-term real estate market data, you'll find pullbacks. You could find pullbacks on the local grocery market. Whatever market you look at, you'll find the same things, because it is rooted in crowd behavior. If you go to a baseball game, it's not possible to foresee one person's action, but there are mathematical models to forecast crowds' actions, and that information is used as warning signs and exits and all that kind of stuff. And other people know much more about this, of course, than I do. Anyway, the point is the edge should be something real. Data mining is okay, but we should proceed with caution, and best to try to find something that's long-term and rooted in crowd behavior. So much about the edge. And if you're so inclined, if you click on this later, you can find some resources on our website, remek.ca. And obviously, Seiki Shimuzu, thank you very much, Bob. Thank you. I should have prepared. And exactly. So, and there are many other sources of good quality information out there as well. Let's move on quickly to the next one, math. Math, the good news is it's not rocket science. The math that's needed to run a flower shop or a little law firm or anything, but a taxi service, whatever it is, it's not really rocket science. A little bit of familiarity and a good feeling about numbers is required, but the good news is not so difficult to do. A little bit more difficult, but still rather easy is a little bit of statistics. Statistics is a branch of mathematics, as everybody knows. There's nothing new here. Statistics 101 is needed. So if you haven't done yet, pick up a good little introductory statistics book off the shelf or from the local library and make friends with those concepts. We will need stuff like standard deviation, mean and dispersion and all that kind of stuff. And just to understand and just to learn how to interpret data and how to interpret the results that we get from our back testing, forward testing, and so on. So math, good news, it's easy, but it cannot be avoided. A little bit of the embrace probabilistic thinking is tied to another one, and probably all these seven are tied together closely. We as human beings are not built to think probabilistically. We have cognitive biases, and we don't seem to understand probabilities as we should. In trading, it is a crucial skill then that we need to master, and it's one part of mathematics as well. So the sooner you master it or you just get into it, the better for you. There's a couple of basic statements. Again, nothing new here. The future is unknown. When you enter a trade, when I enter a trade, we don't know what's going to happen. Nobody knows what's going to happen. And the good news is that it doesn't matter what's going to happen, because if we have an edge, then we'll be up by the end of the year or by the end of our trading cycle. And anything can happen. That will become important as we talk about risk. The risk, what you think of now is probably not I will mean by risk. By risk, I will mean the unknown, not the known, but the unknown. And that's what's most dangerous. And also, definition of success. We all have seen the yellow Ferraris and the swimming pools on YouTube, and that's not what this business is all about. This business is hard work, and the first step towards success is staying in the game. If you can stay in the game, then you can call yourself a successful trader. That's the thing. So before we can grow the business, we have to stabilize the business, and that's the first step. So that's how I see success. Moving on to knowledge, this is probably, I'm not downplaying this, because the information that we need to do this work always changes. This is a fast changing field of work, definitely very different from the late 90s and the NASDAQ craze of 2001, and even different from 2008, the last financial crisis that we survived, hopefully. And knowledge, nonetheless, is probably the easiest one to do, because all we need is just to grab a good coffee, sit down, and just to learn and read what we need to know and be on top of it. There's nothing. And the amount of knowledge, the body of knowledge that we need is not an unsurmountable task. All right. A little bit of, personally, I think that it really helps in this business if we are, just as a private guy, private person, we are genuinely interested in the markets, in the financial markets, that we don't avoid the financial sections of newspaper or whatever. And so a general interest in the field is obviously, I think it would help. If I don't like to do this, then it's quite unlikely that I could be good at something that I don't like doing, or that I'm not interested in. And also, I am a strong believer in daily exposure. I think looking at the charts and the same charts every day does have a very beneficial effect on the way we see the markets. And each market is a story, an unfolding story. And if I just jump in and look at soya beans every 3 months, I'll have no idea what's going on in the market. I can guess, but it's just a guess. But if I'm on it every day, then I can understand much better what could be expected next. So daily exposure, I think, is really helpful. All right, let's talk about capital. This is the big one. I think one of the primary reasons why traders fail is simply not understanding the amount of capital needed to do what needs to be done, what they want to do. And we can think positively, 1,000 times over. I'll never go to the moon with a bicycle, so they're just physically not possible. The same thing, or I'll never swim across the La Manche Channel because I'm just not that good. So same way, some things are just not physically possible, and with little capital, carrying great risk, trouble will happen. Trouble is bound to happen. And look at this poor guy, calculated the risk incorrectly, and now he's in trouble. Same thing with the capital. In my view, the ballpark figure is probably 50 times what one stop would be at any time. So let's say you work with a $500 stop or $1,000 stop to reach a round number, that would be a $50,000 account. Okay. So yes, one big reason for failure, unfortunately, is traders not starting out with enough capital. Luckily, though, there's some good news everywhere. Luckily, now we even have we have a lot of micro contracts. When I started, there were many of these micro contracts. Some just simply didn't exist. Many of these micro contracts are quite liquid. So if you're starting out, and if you do want to trade with real money, and not everybody has the $250,000 or whatever is needed, by all means, there's nothing wrong with spending a year on the micro contracts and learning how to do this than losing a lot of money for nothing. So I'm a big proponent of using micro contracts to trade on smaller accounts. Again, this 50 times one stop ballpark figure is by and large, I think, should be kept. But within that, there's nothing wrong with trading the micros. And don't worry about profits and stuff. We're not, the first year is not about trying to, pay the rent out of the trading account. That's not going to happen anyway. The goal is to stay in the business and learn how to do this. Okay, panic, another big sad consequence of not enough capital. As soon as I enter a trade, and believe me, I've been through this 1,000 times over. You enter a trade, as soon as you enter, you panic. Why? Because you shouldn't even be there with that kind of account. So if you realize that's how you feel, it's just a warning sign of you having to go back to the numbers and do the homework again before more damage is created. Moving on, skills. Yes, this is the big one, definitely the big one, and probably the one that takes the longest time to develop, because there's no known way to speed this up. I mean, you can't become a BB King overnight. You need 10, 20 years on the guitar, and then we can talk. The same thing with the skills. In trading, probably I would say a couple of years. Daily exposure would really help. It would really help. And of course, there will be some individual differences, and I can imagine that somebody can do this faster, but that would be probably the exception to the norm. And also, that was one of my big problems. Many of these experiences, I hope you forgive me for saying so, comes from personal experience. For example, the pain. I had to realize after a while that this is not a business where you can make money without pain. Pain by meaning being uncomfortable. One thing we have to learn is to become comfortable feeling uncomfortable. That's one skill that takes certain time to develop, just to enter the trade and go biking. And I've done my homework. I have my trailing stop. I have my automation. What can happen? Well, what can happen? I get stopped out. Stuff like that. Of course, it depends on the time frame. So this was just an example. Okay, I want to say something about this, what people call a hostile learning environment. If you hire a piano teacher, and if you want to learn the piano or the violin or the guitar or tennis, imagine you take up a tennis class. The coach will correct your actions, will point you into the right direction, and will reward you for something you did well, and will correct you if something was done wrong. And that's what's a friendly learning environment. That's what hopefully most schools and most learning environment in life are like in an ideal situation. The trading environment is exactly the opposite. We have a trading plan. I have a set of rules. I enter the trade. What happens? It's a loser. I followed my rules to the letter. Okay, next trade, follow my rules to the letter. What happens? It's another loser. I'm punished for doing the right thing. The opposite can happen too. I'm in like a cowboy mode and I do something really stupid that's not in my trading plan. I shouldn't even consider doing that, but I enter the market. And then what happens? Gee, something happens and I made a lot of money. That's probably, believe it or not, the worst thing that can happen to a trader, because it taught you the wrong lesson. And our brain will be almost, I'm not sure what the word is, but inclined to repeat the experience. But of course, the next time and the third time, the exact opposite will happen and we will blow the account. This is what we call a wicked learning environment. You can go to Wikipedia and it's an actual term in science and you can look it up and learn more about it. It's quite interesting. but it's a challenge for traders because in this environment, we are randomly awarded or rewarded for doing the right thing. We have to keep doing the right thing, even though about 50% of the time, 40% of the time, we will not be rewarded. We will actually be punished for doing the right thing. That's a great psychological challenge and something we have to overcome. All right, last but not least, skills. One real skill is to trade small, trade micros, the smallest thing you can do, because in the first couple of years, I would say, the real goal is to stay in the trade, to stay in the business, just to stay afloat, don't blow the account. You don't want to make money. You just want to keep the account, put on trades, and break even, basically, while you develop all these skills that we talked about. All right, let's move on and talk about the last time. The last one is time. And check out Randy Pausch, Professor Randy Pausch's last lecture, a very famous event, and it's on YouTube with millions of views. He sadly passed away since, but I think this is a video that certainly was an eye-opener for me. And if you have half an hour, check it out. Time is the ultimate, basically the ultimate finite resource. We only spend a certain amount of time on this planet, and how you want to spend it is something we really need to think about. Maybe trading is not how you want to spend it, and that's fine. Not everybody's cut out to become a surgeon or a pilot. Certainly, I am not, neither. And it's quite okay if after all these mental process of solving the puzzle, you decide, you know what, I just rather be an engineer. I just rather be a teacher. I just rather be whatever is your passion. That's quite okay. Nothing wrong with that. There's many ways to invest. You can still invest your money, but you don't have to sit at the screen most of your time that we spend on this planet. So check out this video. And now let's move on to the last one. Actually, there's one more, which is you, or I should say us, because I'm always included. Actually, I used myself as a model as I was thinking about these things. But if you have anything similar to what I had to go through, then it was already worth it. So you, meaning I, am the greatest risk in the equation. If you, and many of you maybe who are customers or who had conversations with me, know that we have two separate products directly to address this issue, which is that by trading, I insert myself into the equation. I insert myself into my shortcomings, my strengths and weaknesses into the equation, into my edge, basically. And as a human being, I am liable not to be perfect. I have my own cognitive biases that is a constant struggle to counteract or to manage. It's not something we can get rid of, but to manage. And by the way, there's a video link. I'm not going to play it now, but later, if you want, there's a little video on YouTube where you can test yourself about your cognitive biases. So if you're so inclined, check this out. It's quite interesting. And there's some more information on Wikipedia. If you're new to this field or this area, then by all means, please check it out. So we are a big unknown in our trading business. Our emotions on any given day, our mood, our inclinations, personal circumstances, shortcomings, temperedness, everything else that a human being naturally has built in is potentially a risk. Learning to manage it is a great endeavor and challenge in any trading business. And I think probably this is one of the other big ones why trading becomes difficult. It is difficult. It's not an unconquerable task, but it's difficult. So that's how I think about it. And so to take it all away and to sum it up a little bit, these 7 factors, when we started Remek 10 years ago, and now being a university professor for the past 5 years, I couldn't even think of not being honest or being dishonest in any way. But even starting at the company, the first principle was to don't lie and don't make dishonest claims. And I hope strongly that we have managed to keep that promise. And we're not selling any dreams or unfounded promises here with any of our services or products. I keep emphasizing 24/7 how difficult this is. But I also do tell you and share with people what the products are or the tools are that we have built over the years, which I actually built for myself. So what is in the store as a company available to the public is what I'm using. And those in the premium room, they know this exactly. All right, so we're trying to be honest, and I hope this presentation is a further proof to that. And I also want to tell you what really triggered the idea for this presentation. I received an email from a customer a couple of weeks ago, and the question was is to just tell me exactly what to do. And then I ended up writing to him a long letter, which I actually, if he knows who he is, he knows who he is. Thank you for the question, and I hope that my answer helped you. But the point is that I ended up writing this long letter, and I said, oh, this really should become a presentation, because I'm not able to answer your question. And now I hope that by outlining these 7 components that go into the final answer, from my chair, I know nothing about the 7 components in your life. So how could I answer the question? All I can share is the methodology and the tools that we use to structure trades based on the methodology. The methodology has an edge. It's rooted in human behavior. So far, so good, but that doesn't guarantee profits because it needs to be executed correctly. And that's where that 7 ingredients, that's where solving the cube comes into the picture. So I'd like to ask you to think about this and to realize that only you can solve your trading puzzle, but you can solve your trading puzzle. That's the good news. It's not that hard. It takes about I don't know. I don't want to put I almost said like a weekend, but it's not really certainly not one weekend, but a certain amount of time. But it's a finite amount of time, a little dedication, and it's not that difficult to do. Now, a few words about our company as we wrap up this little overview is that what we at Remek try to do and have been trying to do is point you the right way, dispel some myths which we think are unfounded or just untrue, basically. I'm also convinced that by this knowledge, sharing this knowledge with you and sharing the products and services with you, we can save some time. We can't guarantee profits. Nobody can do that, but we can. I trust that we can save you some time by avoiding the pitfalls and the hurdles. And last but not least, in the form of our products and services, I've been happy and I've been quite proud of our products. I think they're unique, and I think they're professional grade products for the retail community, partly built with the excellent tools of Shark Indicators, because as you can see, we have 2 versions of our products. These are the standalones, do not require third-party products, but here on the left, these are the Shark Indicator versions, the Bloodhound versions of the same products. So if you're a Bloodhound user, then good for you. You made the right choice, and then these 2 products will be for you. So they're not completely the same for software programming reasons. They cannot be the exact replicas, and nobody on earth could compete with Blackbird, obviously not us anyway, and that was not our purpose. So these products are a little bit different, but the concept is the same. That being said, if you are a Bloodhound user or if you're considering the excellent products by Shark Indicators, then by all means, please orientate yourself towards the Bloodhound versions of our product in our shop. Okay, at this point, let me just step back. We can talk about the specials later. At this point, we're basically, I've said what I wanted to say today. Thank you so much for your attention. And sorry about the hiccup about my voice, but I've been practicing in the morning and I talk too much probably. At this point, let me just look at the many comments. And if you have any questions, I apologize if I don't go back to There's lots of comments in the past hour coming in. If you'd like to ask something, and if I wasn't able to spot your question, could you please just copy it again at the end so I can keep an eye on it and I can answer them right away. While you are doing that, just in 2 sentences, let me draw your attention to our specials. Shark Week, every year, Shark Week is the biggest event in the retail trading community. And we've been proud to have been invited. Thanks again for Shark Indicators for having us here. I'd like to share with you that we have 4 offers for you, each valid till Sunday night this week. 33% off our Remek products and the Remek Premium service. It's all written here, so I'm just reading. And we have a loyalty program, which is open this week. So if you do own another Remek product, many of you do, I assume. I actually see because many of the names are familiar. So if you do own another Remek product, you can buy any other product at 50% off this week only. That's our loyalty program. Then let's highlight the Shark Indicator products, the bundles. The bundles, by bundles, we mean Remek product and Shark Indicators product bundled together. Each of those bundles have a 25% off already baked in. If you go to, and I can show it to you later, if you go to the shop and you just do the math in the bundles, you'll see that 25% off to start with. We put another 10% off today, this week actually. So there's lots of bundles, Bloodhound, Blackbird, and various combinations of Remek products. If you like to put in your own bundle, you can get, do the math quickly, not 35, but 32.5% off, almost like 33% off the bundles. And a little icing on the cake, if I may. Thank you very much, Keith. Yes, you can see the shop, the link to the shop in the chat box. Thank you, Keith. And last but not least, certainly not least, every purchase this week automatically is given a 1-month free Remek Premium Pass, which is our trade room basically. Every night we have a video analysis of the upcoming day, and we have a satisfied, happy clientele, premium subscribers, and we have also a storehouse of information and past videos going back 2 years now. We started the service 2 years ago. Every day, almost every day, a couple of days sometimes missing when we take a short break or go on holidays, but otherwise every day of the year, every trading day, there's analysis. And I personally, I think that's a tremendous resource, educational resource. You'll get 1 month free if you decide to buy anything from the shop. So thank you very much. Link to the presentation. Yes, let me show you that. Give me 1 second, please. Give me 1 sec.
And I did share the products link in chat. I'm not sure if you'd like the other one linked as well. Remek Premium Welcome.
That's perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Keith. So here we go. I'm just opening up a browser quickly. And if you type in remek.ca, then this week only, we just have the blog open basically. And in just a few minutes, here we go. The presentation is already online. You're most welcome to go to this web address, very simple, remek.ca. Remek, by the way, means excellent in Hungarian. I was born in Hungary, so just a little pun there. Remek means excellent in Hungarian. That's what I've been trying to do for 10 years. Here, if you click on it, you can get to the Google. I'm logged in, so you will not see this page. You will not be logged in, but all the links will be intact. And most importantly, the coupon codes, let me just jump back on this page. The coupon code is here, Remek Shark Week 2021. You just need to type in this coupon code. And there's another one. The same coupon code is valid on the premium page. So if you're interested or you just want to have a look what these offers are all about, just click on the link in the presentation and you'll see the coupon code. Make sure if you choose to use it, then make sure that you enter the coupon code at checkout and make sure that the math was done before you ever decide to put the money down. Okay, so make sure, but it should be automatic. And point number 2, if you want to use the loyalty program, I didn't find a way to automate that. So please just send me an email. If I may ask you, if you're a previous user or current user of another product and you want to get something now at 50% off, including our basically the top of the food chain, all the Pro STR products, either the Bloodhound version or the standalone version, you can get it at 50% off now. And the bundles, here we go. There's another coupon code here, strictly for the bundles only, an extra 10% off. So I'll stop right here. Thank you very much for copying the links, Keith. And let me see. Do we give presentations of your products in action? Oh, sure. I'm happy to show you the product in action, of course. Well, first of all, let me just close this. Yes, good question. Thank you. I just give me a second to start Ninja here. And in the meantime, let me just say that we have a lot of demos, the products in action on our YouTube channel. Simply type in Remek Trading on YouTube and you'll end up right there. And also it's accessible on our website. On our website, we have a blog. I'll show you in just one second. If you click on this link on the website, let's just get to the website quickly. So this is the blog. There's what we call a cloud here. Just click on videos. Then all you see is all the videos where one way or the other, you'll see the system in action. But of course, one of the easiest ways is just to go to YouTube. Okay, now here's Ninja. Let me show you the main products. First of all, we have the Bloodhound version. Let me start with that. This is the Bloodhound version, the Remek Momentum Bloodhound workspace. And what time is it? 5:30. So not much will happen on the markets right now. But if I try to sum this up in a sentence or two, what we are doing here in this workspace is to provide you with a complete trading environment, which is flexible enough to meet your requirements and to be customized to your needs. So we're not telling people how to trade these or what time frames to trade or what instruments to trade. This is a framework. The methodology is rock solid, but what you want to trade or what time frame you want to trade, this is something you have to figure out. And let me point back to those 7 ingredients that we just spent 1 hour to talk about. So, of course, I cannot have the answer to your trading plan, but this product is quite capable of accommodating any need that you might need to address in your trading plan. This methodology is rooted in something which is real, based on real crowd behavior. That's one thing, that's the foundation, the edge, and the exact structuring of each trade. As you see, they're algorithmic calculations. All these blue signals and the red signals are algorithmic calculations of the reemergence of momentum in the market. Now, since this is done by the computer, this is one of the great assets of our company, if I may say so. This algorithmic calculation is objective, doesn't make a mistake, and it is here to help you. You don't think about this as simple trading signals because we don't take all the signals. Nobody takes all the signals. If you go to the skyscrapers in Toronto or New York or anywhere, you go to these trading rooms where 200 people trade millions of dollars, nobody takes all the signals, the people work. So the same thing here. These provide information about the market. The market is broadcasting information about itself, and we are here to interpret that information and make our own decisions. This software product gives you a rock solid framework to do that job. Let me mention in one sentence that this is our pride and joy here, the market scanner. You can put any instrument and any number of instrument in this scanner, and these 1, 2, 3, 4 The days come from Ninja, so there's no big secret there. But the other 4 are proprietary columns, products of our company that provide objective, numeric readings and information from the market. And I'm not going to go into what means what here, because this is explained in detail on our website. But by all means, if you're interested in our products, please make sure you check this out, because this is really cool. Last but not least, let me just quickly mention the standalone products, which do not require Bloodhound Blackbird. They're also here for you. Many people get both. People have laptops and desktops in their trading office, so it's okay to be versatile. This is basically the same thing, as you know, but when you put on the strategy, no Bloodhound will be required. It changes the functionality greatly, because Blackbird, nothing can compete with Blackbird and Bloodhound. So this is basically a simplified version in many ways of what is possible in Blackbird. And we're not here, we didn't build this product to compete with Blackbird. We built this product to offer an alternative. Same thing with the BT. You can read all about these different versions on the website, so I'm not going to go into that. But I do want to mention one thing, the BTX. The BTX we built, and the BTX is useful for you whether you use Bloodhound or not. The BTX is a research tool. This is how you verify your edge. The workspace looks a little different, and there's just one chart if you want to work on it, and a sophisticated strategy analyzer. But so far, this is all in NinjaTrader, so there's nothing new. But here, if you put either the Bloodhound or the standalone version of the strategy on the drop-down list here, there's all kinds of possibilities. Look, here's the shark indicators, Blackbird, so all kinds of possibilities open up. And BTX is a product that I recommend everybody to buy, basically. It's a great research tool, and each trading business should have a research, basically a research branch. Whether it's one person or 5, doesn't matter. If you're one-person operation, that's completely fine. Certain amount of your time should be devoted to research, and this is what I use for my own research, and I highly recommend it. So I'd better stop here. It's been already, I'm afraid I might have been already taking advantage of your patience and your time, so it's been an hour, a little bit more. Let me ask you if you have any other questions that I might try to address here, or any questions about our special offers, which I'd like to put on the chart just one more time. So here we go, presentation mode. So here's the last page if you'd like to jot down either the coupon codes or the links. Again, this file is now available at remek.ca, and you can link on the file. Oh, Michael, okay, give me 1 second, please. Sorry, right. I forgot to auto scroll this. Mike, let me just. Okay, Mike has an excellent question. Does the Bloodhound version include the Remek Cheetah technology combined with the Remek Intelligent Trading Accelerator? Very good question. The answer is that I have 2 answers. The Bloodhound version of Remek Momentum is built the Pro. Remek Momentum Pro, only the Pro version, uses the Cheetah technology. That's a proprietary coding technology that speeds up things and makes the product run faster and more streamlined under Ninja. So the answer to the first part of the question is yes. The second answer, Intelligent Trading Accelerator, is a feature that we built for the standalone versions. So that means that the Bloodhound version would not include that. But here's the good news. Blackbird can do it. The Remek Intelligent Trading Accelerator, we just built it because we just wanted to replicate 5% of what Blackbird can do. So that part, you're not missing anything if you buy the Bloodhound version, because Blackbird can do it and it can do 100 times more. So there's the answer to your question. Thank you. Okay, Michael says that I have Bloodhound, but I don't have Blackbird yet. If I may suggest, get Blackbird. It's we're great fans, and you'll find nothing better. It's the best trade management solution that I know, and probably many other people know or exists on the planet for retail traders. By the way, if you're thinking Bloodhound, Blackbird, or any Shark products, please look at offer number 3, the bundles. By choosing the bundle, probably you get a pretty good deal on Bloodhound or Blackbird, Shark Indicators product, if you go the bundle way. So have a look. What version of Remek do you recommend? Peter, excellent. So if you are an owner of Bloodhound and Blackbird, there's definitely Remek Momentum Pro is for you. Let me show you the website. Give me 1 second. Here we go. Here we are on remek.ca, and I'll just jump on the products page and Remek Momentum. And here we go. Pro. Remek Momentum Pro is Cheetah technology and Bloodhound Blackbird compatible. Look at the logos here, the Shark Indicators logos. So 100% Bloodhound Blackbird compatible, plus it incorporates the Cheetah technology. So this is the way to go for all of you Bloodhound Blackbird users or who are considering Bloodhound and Blackbird, and I think you should be. Also, if you put this into a bundle, you can save big this week. So thank you very much. Please let me know if I missed any of the other questions. There's a lot of questions and I'm scrolling back, but I'm also afraid of missing some of the newer questions. So if you don't mind, if you want to copy it in again so I don't miss it. Keith, perhaps, do you see any questions that could be important and I may have missed?
Let's take a look. Yeah.
While you're looking, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, a lot of compliments.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And I was a little nervous doing this because at some point it gets a little personal because it's a personal experience. But we are here as a community, and I think the best way is to show what challenges we face in this business. And if it helps just one person in this group, then I think I've done my job. Now back to some questions. I saw some question here. Do I have a written trading plan template? Jim, excellent question. I'm glad you asked. Not yet. In the second part of August, I've been thinking of putting it together, a template, not my own, that's not public, but just a template, a skeleton to help people get started. And I might do that. And thank you for the question, because that shows that people are interested. Okay, I'll try to get around doing that. But if you start just by doing a little brainstorming and free association, starting with those 7 areas in your own personal situation, I think you can make good progress even before. But check back on the website, and I'll certainly, if you're a subscriber, I will send an email out about it. What instruments do you like to trade? Thank you, John, for the question. Let me just jump on NinjaTrader, and I'll show you right away. I trade the same 20 or so instruments, which for me is this list here in the market scanner. So these are US futures. And I look at the US futures market as the main source of, like a compass, like a main source of information for myself in my trading and investment activities. So trading and investing, I'm getting sidelined here a little bit, but let me finish the sentence. Trading and investing for me is the same thing. I could be on a 5-minute chart, or we could be on an annual chart, a yearly chart. I could think 20 years, or I could think 20 minutes. I still have to enter the trade. I still have to manage the trade, the risk. I still have to make decisions while I'm in a position. So for me, it's the same thing. Mentally, it may not, there are differences, of course, but for me, this is what I trade, and the focus of my attention is the 4-hour trade. I sometimes, but not too often, jump down to smaller time frames, but only to execute an idea on the 4-hour chart. So only because I want to wait for the close of the bar on a 60-minute or a close of the bar on a 15-minute. That's the only reason I personally use the 15-minute. But I'm not telling anybody what to do. If the 15-minute or some comparable tick chart or whatever is your area of expertise, then by all means do what you're good doing. I gravitated towards a 4-hour because I like to go biking and stuff. So I don't want to, and I'm not in my 20s anymore anyway, so I don't want to sit here all day. Thank you for the question. What's the difference between Momentum Pro and the Remek system? Very good question. Thank you very much. The Remek system is a slowly but surely it is becoming a system which we're not going to continue developing. It's a mature product. It's like 7-8 years old. We have been developing it up to this year, actually. Version 3.11 came out a few months ago. And now it really has everything that we ever wanted to put into it. So just to tweak with it, that wouldn't make sense to us. So this is as mature as we can make it. And it's a Renko-based system. That's the main difference. Bloodhound compatible, as you can see. So I'm going to put Blackbird on the chart. Here we go. And I'm going to enable the system. So it is a Renko-based system. What probably, why stands apart from probably other systems, if I may, I'm not trying to brag here, but let me just say this as I think it is, that this also is based on the same methodology that the momentum systems are based. The only limitation is that this only works on Renko bars. And this was built at the time in 2014 when it came out. This has still the largest user base, believe it or not. Most of our customers, or a majority of our customers, are still started out with Renko charts, and Remek first became known as a Renko system vendor, basically. We have moved on to time and tick charts in the meantime, but we carried through the methodology from the Remek system, which is based on the reemergence of momentum into our momentum technology, which is I must say, in many ways, much more developed. That doesn't mean that the Renko-based system is stopped working. So to answer the question in one sentence, Remek, the Remek system, that's what the name is. And then we're not going to change the name now because it's too late to change the name. So that's the Remek system. It is Renko-based only, Renko bars only. The others, the momentum, it can handle any bar type, including the Renko. So this can handle anything. Okay, thank you for that question. All right. Excellent. And any other excellent presentation. Thank you, Timothy. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Okay, I'd better stop here, Keith, and hand it back to you. And thank you so much for the opportunity to meet with you today here. And I hope it was somewhat useful. And I will jump back to the specials page. Here we go. So if you'd like to have a last look, then here's the information. Thank you again. And back to you, Keith. Keith, can you hear me?
Oh, sorry about that. I did click the button for mute, I promise. I was just saying,
okay.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Ferenc. Yeah, Timothy right at the end said, excellent presentation. Yeah, it was kind of a high level look at some of the important things that you would think would be only for trading beginners, because I think most of us eventually experience some of this stuff. But it's amazing how, unless you really break it down and think through what are the actual things that are going on in my mind that are affecting the way that I'm living and trading, you can easily fall into some of these traps. It made me think of, I get a lot of, I'm the one when someone has a question, if they're brand new to Shark Indicator stuff, they call in and they get me. And it's so often I ask them, what is the big problem you're trying to solve? Because that's, our goal. We're trying to sell stuff. What are we trying to solve? And so many times it's, I need to get out of my own way with my emotions in the trade. I need to be able to pre-plan or figure out what I'm going to do with, before I'm in the trade, before I'm in the heat of the moment, so that I can sort of systematize and get out of my own way. And so when one of the options, one of the problems you were talking about was YOU, that popped in my head, because that's such a big problem for so many people, is just getting out of your own way. And then when you said they all have to be combined together and all need to be sort of solved in order for things to work out right, that makes total sense. And it's more of a life lesson in general than just for a trader. So yeah, I thought that was useful. You got a lot of good compliments in here. As a lot of people here will probably take advantage of the number 2 there as the loyalty program, because every time you come in one of our webinars and talk, you always get a bunch of people who are already sort of loyal Remek fans. I thought that was really cool to learn what Remek meant. I didn't know that was a Hungarian word. That's cool. So anyway, yeah, learned a lot. Obviously visit his website if you have more questions. Let me share my screen really quick. I'm just gonna, just like yesterday, I'm just gonna show what is coming up for tomorrow for Shark Week. Can't believe we're already halfway through. Does that come up where you're seeing the schedule here?
I do see it. Thank you. And thank you for the kind words, Keith. You summed it all up excellently in much shorter time than I did.
Oh, good. I'm not always a good student, so I'm glad I figured that out. Well, so for tomorrow, August 11th, your presentation was fairly, I don't want to make it sound, it was high level. It was important, broad, core stuff. And I have a feeling the next 2 are going to be a little bit more meat and potatoes on specific topics. Both are very valuable and important. So the next one, I'm curious, as soon as I saw his title, I'm curious what he is actually going to be talking about in detail. I have not seen his presentation yet. So come back in for hiding order flow from the exchanges. There's a lot of ways that you could interpret that. So yeah, come on in tomorrow at 4:30 Eastern time. Today's recording will be available. Let's see, yesterday's is up under replays. So you can check that out and you'll be able to see Ferentz's probably within the next 2 or 3 hours as well. So I appreciate that. I know you had a lot of questions come in. I'm not sure if you covered them all, or if you missed any. Guys, just make sure you reach out to Ferentz or us, depending on what it's related to. And so you don't let that slide by the wayside. So anyway, Ferentz, any last minute comments or questions? Otherwise, we'll end this one.
Thank you, Keith. All good. Thank you. I just see 2 questions here quickly that I may answer. Okay. Right. Michael is asking if the trial allows to trade with live money. The answer is yes. No limitation in the trial. And Brian pointed out that the Japanese candlestick trader in the 17th century, I think his name was Munehisha Homa, I remember. So thank you so much for those comments. And Keith, thank you for the kind words. It's been a pleasure being here, and all the best to you all.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day. See you tomorrow.
Thank you. Bye-bye.